Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Spooktober Planetarium show. I know, I'm excited. Our first real Spooktober show after our, What's Up last week. So tonight we're going to be doing Spooky Star Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is, some just really fun kind of spooky constellation stories that are all still family friendly, but a lot of fun. So I guess before we jump in, I completely missed introductions. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm the Planetarium Director. I got so excited about the show that I skipped over my normal opening speech. With me tonight is one of our students, becoming a very familiar face on these streams, which we love. So I will let him say hi and introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Braden. I'm a vocal music education student here at UMD.
All right, so let me get everything switched over and set up, and we will get going with the show. Now, as with any of our shows, if you have any questions tonight, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I am so used to saying Eli. Braden will be watching those for me and will let me know if questions come up. We should see if Eli can hop on for a throwback stream. It would be fun. I miss
Yeah,
his
we should.
face.
Yeah, we should.
I'm sure
I
he's very busy with grad school though.
This is yes. That was weird. My mic disconnected for a second there. That was weird. Oh, okay.
All right. So we are currently looking at the sky that is set up for here in Duluth right now. We've got the sun setting over in the west. What we want to do is just speed that time up a little bit and really get the sunset and the night sky dark. So we are now looking at that is about 8 o'clock tonight. Wow, I can't believe how early it is getting dark already. It's kind of crazy.
It's just really jarring. I'm
It,
not
it
used to
really
that.
is. All right, so if we take a look at our dark sky, we of course can see stars. We have some planets that are currently up in the night sky. We've got Jupiter and Saturn hanging out with us right after it gets dark. Mars is up not too long after. We'll show you that because we're going to go a little bit later into the night in a bit. And then what I first wanted to start out pointing out was this nice fuzzy band that arches across the sky. That is our Milky Way galaxy. So our galaxy is shaped like a disk, like a frisbee. And so all of the stars and gas and dust that make up our galaxy are all within that. So from our viewpoint here inside of the galaxy, the rest of the galaxy looks like this arch from our point of view, and it's kind of fuzzy and hazy because things are so far away. And this is why we're going to start off tonight, because for a lot of cultures, this fuzzy arch that we see across the sky symbolized the gateway to the afterlife. Whether it was an actual bridge taking spirits across from the world of the living to the world of the dead, or it acted as some sort of a gate. This was, for a lot of cultures, they said, kind of the path that the spirits took. And this time of year was particularly important because, as you can see, this Milky Way is coming straight down into the ground, making a very kind of connected, very direct passageway, which is why this time of year is so associated with the spirits. And as some would say, we have kind of like the thinnest veil between the world of the living and the dead because this gateway is so directly connected to the earth. All right, well, let's turn our attention over to the north and start giving some actual stories. We will start by finding the North Star. The trick to that is to first find the Big Dipper, and then take those two pointer stars, which are at the front two stars in the cup of the Dipper, and those will point you over to the North Star, which is right here. Now, In Arabic constellation stories, the North Star is known as Algol. According to Arabic mythology, this star is the hole in the sky where the evil star lived. This evil star was once a great warrior on Earth. Or sorry, was once. I'm I'm good. This evil star was once a man on Earth who killed the great warrior, and he was imprisoned up in the sky for that. And in fact, the rest of what we call the Little Dipper is the coffin that is constantly having to march around him as part of his punishment, having to see this great warrior that he killed constantly imprison him up in the sky. All right, now if we make our way over to the northeast, where we see the other half of our fuzzy arch of our Milky Way, we can make out this W in the sky. Now to the Greeks, this W is the Queen Cassiopeia. But to Arabic cultures, this is known as the Tinted Hand. And so this is either represented by a hand that is tinted by henna, or it's the hand belonging to Fatima, who got caught stealing. And as punishment, she had her hand chopped off. And then her hand was placed into the night sky as a warning. Now, the other story that I really like that goes along with this group of stars comes from the Yakima. And so to the Yakima, this group of stars is known as the Elkskin. So the story starts with 5 brothers. The 4 eldest decided one day to go out hunting, and they left the youngest brother at home. Now, while the 4 older brothers were out hunting, they weren't having a lot of luck. They weren't finding any animals. And so when they came across this older man, they asked him, hey, have you seen any elk around? We're trying to hunt. And the man was like, yeah, absolutely. You need to go that way. And the boys thanked him and walked off. What they didn't know was this man was an evil shapeshifter. And he ended up turning into a giant elk, which ran after them and trampled them, unfortunately. Now, when they didn't come home, the youngest brother was worried and decided to go out looking for them. In his search, he came across that same older man and asked him if he had seen his brothers. And he told him, yeah, I saw them. I sent them off that way to go look for the elk. Now, the youngest brother thought that there was something a little bit off with him, so he pretended to go off in that direction, but actually hid in a bush and watched the old man. As he did so, he saw the old man turn into the giant elk and run after him, trying to chase him down, and he figured that this is probably what happened to his brothers. So the youngest brother jumped out from his hiding place and shot 5 arrows at the elk man, killing him. And so what we see here in the sky is the skin of that elk, of the evil shapeshifter man, and the 5 stars each represents the 5 places that the arrow pierced his skin. I like that one. It's still a little sad, but I like that one.
We do have a little bit of a request.
Okay.
To spell the Arabic name for the North Star again.
It is, and I probably butchered the pronunciation. Al, A-L, space Kiblah, K-I-B-L-A-H. So, yep, at least that's what I have in my notes.
Yep.
So, yeah. All right, let's take a look at a group of stars that is sitting just below our Queen Cassiopeia. Right here, we have the constellation of Perseus. Let me go ahead and turn on that. What is that? I don't know what that just said. Anyway, let me turn on that art for him. So this is the Greek constellation of Perseus. You can see that he is holding something. And that is kind of Perseus's claim to fame. So let's talk a little bit about Perseus, because his whole story going up to this moment we see in the sky is kind of sad and kind of cool. So Perseus was born to a princess. That princess, though, her father had uh, a reading that told him that he was going to be killed by his grandson. So when he found out that his daughter was pregnant and she ended up giving birth to a son, he banished the two of them from their kingdom so that he, wouldn't be killed by his grandson. This led to the two of them becoming slaves on a farm in a kind of island community. Um, and this led to a lot of people kind of picking on Perseus and his mom. And once Perseus got a little bit older, he started trying to defend himself and his mom from these bullies. And so they finally told him, we're like, look, you want to prove yourself, go and kill Medusa. So Medusa is this, she's called a gorgon. She's this creature that has snakes for hair, and when you look her in the eyes, you turn to stone. It's incredibly difficult to kill her because of that, because you can't really look at her while doing so. And so Perseus was like, you know what, I'll do it. Now, the gods wanted to help out, and so they all gave him different bits of armor. Athena gave him her really, really shiny, polished shield. He was also given a sword by Ares, a helmet by Mercury, which turns the wearer invisible, and then he was also given Pegasus, the horse with wings, so that he could travel there and back. And with all of his items, he found Medusa with that very shiny shield. He used it as a mirror, which caused Medusa to look herself in the eye and get turned to stone. And with that, he was able to defeat this horrible monster and bring her head back to prove that he, in fact, did what they set him out to do. And so that's what we see here. Perseus, all decked out in his gear given to him by the gods, traveling back home with that head of Medusa. Now, this star right here is called Algol. It's known as the demon star because over several days, the star kind of dims and brightens again. What's going on in this star is actually a binary star where the stars kind of pass in front of each other as they're orbiting. So as they're passing in front of each other, they block some of the light, excuse me, causing that dimming every so often. So when early culture saw this reddish star that dimmed and brightened, they thought of it as like a blinking red eye. So it became known as the demon eye. And in fact, the name Algol is where our term for ghoul comes from, which I think is pretty cool. All right, turning us around here over into the southwest, we are going to find this kind of U shape in the sky. To the Greeks, this U shape is Corona Borealis, but to the Blackfoot, this is the great spider god that sits up in its web in the sky. This is its web stretching out all along here. So it sits in its web, and every summer, the giant spider likes to climb down to the earth and pay the earth a visit and then go back up. And this may not be nearly as creepy to anyone else, but I'm terrified of spiders.
I do not like this story.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Also, do have a comment.
Yes.
Do you know a resource which predicts the eclipse times of Algol, so that we could try to observe?
I know space.com in their, sorry for the trade noises if you can hear it in the back, will often post it as part of their like monthly astronomical events. I haven't seen it recently. Stellarium might do it. I haven't actually looked into it myself. But depending on how much time we have at the end, I might be able to kind of look for a few seconds and see if Stellarium will do it. Otherwise, I don't know of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure you could probably just Google it and find something. I know it's a roughly 3-day period, and it's about 10 hours that it kind of dims and then brightens again, and then about 3 days later, it does it again. But yeah, I'll come back to that at the end. All right. Now, this great spider web that the Blackfoot spider sits in, to the Greeks, is known as the hero Hercules. And Hercules himself has quite a creepy story. Hercules is a demigod, means he's half god, half human. Being half god, this gives him some super strength. And that led to a lot of people being scared of him. And so, in order to prove that he was a good person, he was set out to fight lots and lots and lots of different creatures that were wreaking havoc. He had to fight Leo the lion, which we can see up in the spring. He had to fight the Hydra. He had to fight, let's see, the great dragon, Draco, that guarded a tree that grew golden apples. He had to fight, I'm looking at my, he had to capture the golden stag of Artemis, kill this big boar that was terrorizing the area, clean the stables of a group of monster horses. You can imagine how awful of a task that would have been. Maybe not scary in the traditional sense, but I don't think I would have liked that. There are lots of things that he had to do. But I point him out because he helps me find our next constellation, which is, I have to say, I think this is my favorite story of the show. And it's a constellation that I don't really do very often because not a lot of people know it. It's kind of difficult to find, and I struggle to find it outside of this program. I've never actually been able to find it myself in the night sky. But in this region of sky, and let me go ahead and just click so that it'll come up, we have the constellation of Ovucus. Now you can see here that he is a man, that we have another constellation, Serpents, which is a serpent, a snake, that's kind of twisting around him. So, Ovucus. He is originally has a different name, Eriscython, I think is how you pronounce it. But he led a group of men into a group of trees that was sacred to the god Demeter. Goddess Demeter. Right? Goddess? No, god.
Goddess.
It is goddess. Okay, that's what I thought. To the goddess Demeter. And what they ended up doing is they chopped down all of the trees in this grove and used it to build this dude's house. Now, this obviously made Demeter very angry, and she ended up cursing him with a hunger that could never be satisfied. So it didn't matter how much he ate, how much he drank, he was never, ever satisfied. And so he spent the next years just constantly being brought food and drink, trying to satiate himself. And he ended up going through all of their money, just buying food, eating nonstop. And it turned out the more and more he ate, the hungrier he got. And so this rate that he kept eating and drinking just got worse and worse and worse. When he had no more money, he ended up selling his family into slavery to get more money, eating the family's pets and animals, and then he was left with nothing. He had nothing left to eat. So he had only one option. He started to eat himself. As he ate his own flesh, he realized that his hunger started to go away. And the more and more he ate of his own flesh, the less and less hungry he became. Now, Demeter realized what had happened, and that he had found a loophole, I guess. And so she sent a giant snake to wrap around him so that he would no longer be able to eat his own flesh and would still be cursed with this perpetual hunger. And so we see poor Ovucus up here in the sky, wrapped up by the snake, chained up here and wrapped up so that he is forever tormented and tortured by his ever never-ending hunger and thirst. And that is the story of Ovucus, which I think is the best story of the night. I don't know. Brayden, what do you think? I really
It's a
like
good
that.
one. It's a good one.
I really like it.
So dark, but it's great. I do also like this one. It I remember you telling me about it last year, and I was like, and it ah,
Yeah.
so dark.
And it's definitely not one that like I would want to tell outside of like this themed star show. So yeah, there you go. The story of Ophiuchus. For our last few stories, I'm going to go a little bit later into the night so that we can bring up some of our winter constellations. We got Mars rising up over here in the east, and we're just going to keep going. We're past midnight now, so we're getting pretty late into the night. But we got to bring up our last set of constellations. All right, that's good. We'll stop there. So, first, we will take a look at probably the most recognizable winter constellation, which is, of course, Orion the Hunter. Now, Orion is up in the sky because he really messed up when trying to court the goddess Artemis. He was in love with her. She is the goddess of the hunt, and so he thought the best way to impress her would be to hunt every single living creature on this small little island. And so he spent all night doing so. When the sun rose, he called Artemis down, and she saw, quite frankly, the pile of dead creatures surrounding Orion, and she was very angry because while she's the goddess of the hunt, she only approves of hunting for need, not for sport. So seeing him needlessly kill all of these creatures, she was very, very unhappy with him. So she sent a scorpion to poison him, and scorpion stung him. Orion was poisoned and died. Artemis started feeling a little guilty after that, so she did end up placing Orion up in the sky as kind of a sorry I killed you. But she also put the scorpion up as well. That's the constellation Scorpius. And so it's up there to kind of watch over Orion to make sure that he doesn't cause any more mischief. Now, right up, if we kind of follow Orion up, right next to where the moon currently is tonight, we have this little group of stars. This is the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters. Let me zoom on in here. And there are lots and lots of stories about this group of stars. We'll start with I guess we'll do the Sierra story, because it's not quite as bad, and I always feel bad after the Ovucus. I want to do something a little bit lighter. So to the Sierra, this group of stars is associated with the Grizzly Sisters and the Deer Sisters. So while they were younglings, the Grizzly Sisters and Deer Sisters got along really well. They were the best of friends. They always played along together. That is until one day, Bear Mother ate Deer Mother. After this, Deer Sisters were very, very scared of the Grizzly Sisters, And so they trapped the Grizzly sisters in a cave so that they would not be able to eat them. And so here we have the Grizzly sisters caught in the cave. And then we have the kind of stars around are the deer sisters kind of frolicking in the fields now that the Grizzly sisters could not hurt them. All right, and we will end with our two dogs in the sky. Now, these two dogs sit on either side of the Milky Way, which we've already seen or already talked about was kind of seen as a bridge to the other world, to the spirit world. And so, for a lot of cultures, you also had these guards on either side that act as just that, guards. So for the Greeks, you had the two dogs that sat here and guarded the entrance into the underworld. In other cultures, you also had usually some dogs, and usually there were stories about how you had to make sure you brought enough tribute with you so that the first dog, the big dog, wouldn't take everything, and you'd still have enough to give to the little dog. Otherwise, if you didn't, you'd be caught right here in between them, not being able to pass. You'd just be stuck here because you can't go back out and you can't leave because you don't have a sacrifice for the little dog here. Um, and let's see. In Norse mythology, you had instead of dogs, they were wolves, which close enough. And yeah, that's I think where we will end our spooky star stories for the night with our two guard dogs guarding the entrance into the underworld or into the spirit realm.
We do have another question. Can you switch to Sumerian or Babylonian constellations to see what Orion might become? Could it be Gilgamesh?
Let
Which
me.
that would be cool, I will say. But
That would be. Let me see real quick. Um, to Babylonian.
yeah, or Sumerian.
Let's see. Babylonian. It's looking like he's the true shepherd.
Hmm.
And don't see Sumerian.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, this is the other cool thing. I don't think I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. The program that I use for these is Stellarium. It's a free software. And not only does it show you your traditional constellations that you probably know, it also has constellations from cultures all over the world, which is really cool to kind of get a good cultural look at the night sky. But yeah, there we go. Got us back. All right. Oh yeah, I was gonna look at to see if Stellarium did the Algol. So let me look at that real quick. Brayden, do you have any others that you like? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
Um. Oh my God! Can you say again? My brain just like turned off for a second there. Ask the question one more time.
Do you have any stories that I didn't tell that you think would be good?
A good one.
Yeah,
The
I'm just
full
putting
Orpheus
you.
and Eurydice story gets pretty dark.
I will. I
He
didn't do that one.
he fully goes to he double hockey sticks. Like he walks there.
Do you want to tell it while I look this up?
Yeah, sure. So the story kind of it is kind of a longer one. But essentially what it boils down to is Orpheus is the son of Muse. I forget which Muse exactly, and Apollo. At a very young age, he's gifted Apollo's Apollo's lyre, or which is just a very ancient stringed instrument. And he's just like the most amazing string player ever. He's an amazing musician. One day, while he's playing in the town, he meets a wonderful muse by the name of Eurydice. Um, they instantly fall in love. Um, they instantly want to get married, but the god that like approves marriages didn't approve theirs, so he said that their marriage would be doomed to fail. So sadly, Eurydice gets bitten by a snake and dies. um Orpheus was not okay with this, knowing that his father was a god, was like, maybe I could cheat the system and get her back. So he goes down to Hades. Um, on the way, he gets past. I can never pronounce his name right. I think it's Charon or Chiron. I don't know what it is. But he's the boatsman that floats down the river Styx. And he charms him and Cerberus, the guard dog, to Hades. Um, he is able to get in front of Hades and is able to actually play him one of his songs that actually convinces him to let Eurydice go. On one condition, though, they have to walk all the way back to the overworld with Orpheus in front and Eurydice behind, and Orpheus is not allowed to turn around to see if Eurydice is actually there. So Orpheus obviously gladly accepts this. And then they start walking, and they're walking and walking. It's a very long walk, but they eventually get to the end of the river Styx, right where they're about to cross over to the overworld. Orpheus crosses, thinking that they're home free. Orpheus turns around to see Eurydice, who is not fully passed, and Eurydice gets dragged back down underneath. Now, after
So
this,
sad.
Eurydice, no, Orpheus goes back to the town and is understandably a bit bummed. Doesn't really want to play music anymore, and kind of just retreats inward. Um, Now, Orpheus was also a very good-looking fella, so the ladies of the town uh, wanted him to start playing music again and date them. So, so they gave him about 2 weeks, and then they started to be like, "Okay, it's been 2 weeks. Can you stop mourning your wife now?" And they did. After nothing happened, they did the only rational thing, which was to kill Orpheus and chop him up and throw him in the river near the town.
It's so
The
sad.
gods saw this, felt really bad for Orpheus, and put his lyre in the sky. And that is how we get a constellation known as Lyra. Lyra the lyre, or Lyra the harp. Um, it can be seen in the Summer Triangle by the star Vega. There you go. It's
Well,
definitely a bummer of a story.
it is.
Less scary and more just
Yeah,
sad. Just like really sad.
no. Okay, so thank you for doing that. While you were telling that story, I was not able to find information on Algol and its periodic dimming in Stellarium, but I did find a very useful website that will give you the information, and I placed that in the chat, so there you go. You think Ovucus should eat the snake? I like that. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's take another minute in case there are any other questions or things you would like to share with us. In the meantime, let me show you what's coming up this week. For Friday's show in person at the Planetarium, we are doing Journey Through the Solar System. Our shows for Saturday are Sunstruck at 2 and Unveiling the Invisible Universe at 7. And then join us back here in a week, next Wednesday, for our next Spooktober show, The Magical World of Astronomy, a Harry Potter show, which is an awesome show, and you should definitely come see it. Louise has done so much cool research on all of these astronomical connections in the Harry Potter universe. And then, of course, all of this is leading up to the end of the month on October 29th, when we will be having our Halloween event at the Planetarium. As I said, Saturday, October 29th from 6 to 8 p.m., we'll be doing our free Halloween event. It's back in person, no longer a drive-through event. We're going to have activities, planetarium shows, candy, lots of fun stuff going on. So definitely come by and hang out with us that night. And yes, costumes are highly encouraged. We'd love to see all of the costumes. All right. With that, I am not seeing anything else, so I think we will wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll hopefully see you next time. So, bye, everyone.